They searched everywhere, under the bed, behind the curtains, even inside the old water tank. But the bride was gone. Her wedding gown lay neatly folded on the bed, her veil fluttering beside it, and the scent of her perfume hung in the air like a ghost. This is not an ordinary disappearance. This is the story of Adaeze, the bride who vanished on her wedding night. Welcome back, my dear viewers. Please subscribe, like, and turn on the bell so you don't miss what happens next, because this story will haunt you till the end. The sun was golden that morning in Umunto village. Birds sang above the old palm trees, and drums echoed from the village square where everyone had gathered for Adaeze and Ebuka's wedding. Adaeze, known for her beauty and calm spirit, looked like a goddess in her white gown. Even the elders whispered blessings under their breath, saying, "This one no real wife material." Everything seemed perfect, until the rain started. It wasn't ordinary rain. It came suddenly, hard, and cold, forcing people to run for cover. Yet Adaeze smiled through it, saying softly to her friend Ngozi, "Even heaven is washing me clean for my new beginning." Nobody knew that her words would turn out to be a warning. As the celebration continued, strange things began to happen. A stray dog with red eyes wandered near the compound and howled endlessly. The village madwoman, Mama Oti, stood by the gate, muttering something about the bride who must not sleep in white. The elders laughed it off, thinking she was just ranting again. But Ngozi noticed Adaeze's hands trembling. She whispered, "Are you okay?" Adaeze nodded quickly and forced a smile, but her eyes kept darting toward the nearby forest, as if something, or someone, was calling her name. By nightfall, the rain had stopped, and laughter filled the air again. The couple entered their new home, a freshly built bungalow near the edge of the forest. The moon shone brightly, casting a silver glow across their bedroom. Ebuka teased her, saying, "My beautiful wife, even the moon can't compete with you." Adaeze blushed and turned away, but her reflection in the mirror seemed different. For a moment, her eyes in the mirror flickered gold. She blinked, and it vanished. She told herself it was just nerves, the stress of the day. But when Ebuka stepped out to fetch water, a faint knock echoed from the wardrobe. Slow. Rhythmic. Knock. 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 Adaeze froze. "Ebuka," she called softly, but there was no answer. The knocking stopped. Then she heard a woman's whisper, "You took my place." Her heart pounded as she turned toward the wardrobe, but before she could open it, Ebuka returned. "You look pale," he said, concerned. Adaeze forced a laugh, blaming it on tiredness. They lay down to rest, and as the candlelight flickered, Adaeze whispered, "Ebuka, promise me you'll never open the wardrobe if I'm not around." He chuckled, thinking it was a joke. Moments later, Adaeze's breathing slowed and she drifted off to sleep, never to wake beside him again. At dawn, Ebuka woke up alone. The bed was empty, her wedding dress folded neatly on the chair. The window was open, the curtain fluttering in the wind. He thought she had gone to fetch water, but when hours passed and she didn't return, he panicked. The villagers gathered, searching every corner of the house and nearby forest. No footprints. No torn cloth. Nothing. Only the faint smell of Adaeze's perfume lingered in the air. The village priest came and declared, "Something took her, something not of this world." Ngozi cried uncontrollably, saying, "She told me she felt something watching her." As night fell again, Ebuka sat by the doorway, his eyes swollen from tears. He heard the wardrobe creak open by itself. Slowly, he turned. Inside, a single white veil hung from the hanger, swaying gently as if someone had just left it there. And then, he heard it again, the same whisper Adaeze heard before she vanished, "You took my place." The story of the missing bride spread across villages like Harmattan fire. But no one ever found Adaeze. Not her body. Not her soul. Only the legend remained, the bride who vanished on her wedding night. By morning, Adaeze's disappearance had shaken the whole village. People gathered around Ebuka's compound, talking in low voices. Some said she ran away. Others believed she'd been kidnapped. Ebuka sat quietly on the front step, his face buried in his hands. He hadn't slept all night. His mother tried to comfort him, but he only stared into space. She wouldn't just leave, he kept repeating. Adaeze wouldn't run away from me. The police from the nearby town arrived, questioning everyone. They searched the forest, the stream, and even the old market square, but no trace of her was found. Her gown, veil, and shoes were still in the room, folded neatly as if she had planned her exit. One officer asked, "Did she act strange before the wedding?" Ngozi, Adaeze's best friend, looked uneasy. She said something about a man watching her days before the wedding, but she told me not to mention it. The officer's pen froze midair. A man? Who? Ngozi hesitated. I never saw him. But she said he knew something about her father. The room went silent. Everyone knew Adaeze's father had died years ago under strange circumstances. The officer nodded slowly. We'll start there. Later that day, Ebuka and Ngozi went through Adaeze's belongings, hoping to find a clue. Inside her box, they discovered a small brown diary tied with a red ribbon. The first few pages were filled with excitement about the wedding, the gown, the decorations, her love for Ebuka. But halfway through, the tone changed. He came again today, one line read. He said, I don't know the full truth about who I am. The next entry was more alarming. If I tell Ebuka, he'll never marry me. Ngozi's hands trembled as she read aloud. Ebuka grabbed the diary and turned to the last page. The final words were written shakily. If anything happens to me, check the locked room at my father's old house. They drove straight to Adaeze's family home at the far end of the village. The house was empty, covered in dust, with spider webs across the ceiling. At the back, they found a small metal door with a rusty padlock. This must be it, Ngozi said. Ebuka broke the lock with a hammer. The door creaked open, revealing a small room with stacks of old boxes and one large framed photograph on the wall. It showed a young woman, almost identical to Adaeze, standing beside a man neither of them recognized. At the bottom of the frame, it read, Nkiru and Chief Okafor, 1993. Ebuka stared at the photo, confused. Who is Nkiru? He asked. Ngozi's eyes widened. She looks exactly like Adaeze. Could they be twins? But the record said Adaeze was an only child. Searching further, they found letters from the same man in the picture, Chief Okafor, addressed to Adaeze's late mother. The letters spoke of betrayal, hiding children, and promises to keep the second one safe. The truth hit them both at once. Adaeze wasn't who she thought she was. Her parents had kept a secret all her life, that she was adopted, possibly the child of Chief Okafor and another woman. Suddenly, everything made sense. The strange man watching her, her nervousness before the wedding, the diary entries. She must have discovered the truth just before the ceremony. Ebuka sank to his knees. So she left, to find out who she really is. Ngozi nodded slowly. Or to confront the people who lied to her. But as they turned to leave, Ebuka noticed something on the floor, a fresh footprint, smaller than his. It led out through the back door into the thick forest path. Adaeze had been there recently. Ebuka stood up, his eyes fierce now. She's alive, he said. And I'm going to find her. 2 days after discovering the old photo, Ebuka and Ngozi followed the faint clues Adaeze had left behind. Her last diary entry mentioned the city and unfinished business. They took a bus to Enugu, hoping to trace her phone signal. At the local police station, an officer confirmed that Adaeze had withdrawn a large sum of money from her account 2 days before the wedding and booked a hotel under a fake name. What would she need that much cash for? Ngozi whispered. The officer shrugged. Maybe she was running from someone. When they reached the hotel, The receptionist hesitated at first but then whispered, she left in a hurry that night, after a man came looking for her. The name he wrote in the visitor's log made Ibuka's heart stop, Chief Okafor. He remembered the name from the photograph in Adaeze's father's house. Who is this Chief Okafor? Ngozi asked. The receptionist looked uncomfortable. A big man. He owns half the hotels and businesses in this area. You don't cross him. Ibuka's fist clenched. Then that's where we start. They found Chief Okafor's mansion at the edge of town, guarded by men in black suits. Through a contact, Ngozi managed to arrange a meeting by pretending to be a journalist. The chief was in his early 60s, tall, confident, and smiling too easily. "Oh, you're here about Adaeze," he said calmly, as if expecting them. "Beautiful girl. I was very fond of her." His tone made Ibuka's skin crawl. "What was she to you?" Ibuka asked quietly. The chief chuckled. "Isn't it obvious? Yes, he used to be my woman." The room fell silent. Ngozi blinked. "Your woman?" But she was about to get married. The chief leaned back. "That's what she wanted you all to believe. But some bonds don't break so easily. I made her who she is. I paid her school fees, gave her a life. Then she betrayed me." Ibuka's hands shook with anger. "She left you because she wanted a fresh start," he snapped. Chief Okafor's smile faded. "Fresh start. She stole from me. I warned her that I'd find her if she ever tried to disappear." His words were cold, each one heavier than the last. Ngozi felt a chill. "So you came to her wedding?" The chief smirked. "I came to remind her that she couldn't erase me." He stood and walked toward the window. "You people don't understand women like her. When they taste wealth, they never truly let go." Ibuka stepped forward, his voice low but trembling. "Where is she now?" Chief Okafor turned slowly and said, "If she's smart, she's far away from here. If she's foolish enough to come back," he smiled thinly, "she knows what's waiting." They left the mansion feeling sick. Ngozi's hands were shaking as she whispered, "So Adaeze was hiding from him all along." Ibuka stared blankly at the road. "And she didn't tell me because she was ashamed." Back at the hotel, the manager agreed to show them the security footage from that night. The camera showed Adaeze leaving her room with a small bag at exactly 10:47 p.m. A few minutes later, a black SUV pulled up, and a man in a suit, one of Okafor's guards, stepped out. Adaeze looked back once, then disappeared into the night. They replayed the footage several times, searching for direction. The last frame showed her crossing the street toward the old bus terminal. Ibuka leaned forward. "She didn't go far. She went east." He stood up, determination burning in his eyes. "She's not dead, Ngozi. She's running." Ngozi nodded slowly. "But if Chief Okafor finds out we're looking for her," Ibuka cut in, his voice firm, "then he'll know he messed with the wrong man." As they stepped out of the hotel, a white car slowed beside them. The driver rolled down the window. It was one of Chief Okafor's men. "My Oga says you should stop digging," he warned. "Some truths don't need to be found." Then the car sped off, leaving dust and fear hanging in the air. Ibuka turned to Ngozi. "We keep digging." By the next morning, Ibuka and Ngozi were already on their way to Nsukka. They had traced Adaeze's trail from the bus terminal to a small guest house run by an elderly woman named Mama Ifeoma. She confirmed Adaeze had stayed there for 2 nights after leaving Enugu. She looked scared, Mama Ifeoma said, adjusting her wrapper. Kept asking if anyone was looking for her. Always on the phone, whispering to someone called Chuka. Ibuka frowned. "Who is Chuka?" Mama Ifeoma shrugged. "Maybe someone trying to help her." She handed them a receipt Adaeze had left behind, with a phone number scribbled on the back. Ibuka called the number immediately. A man's voice answered, cautious. Who is this? I'm Adaeze's husband, Ebuka said. The line went silent for a few seconds before the man sighed. Then you deserve to know the truth. They agreed to meet at a cafe that evening. When Chuka arrived, he looked uneasy, his eyes darting around the room. Adaeze came to me because she found out something that could destroy Chief Okafor, he said. She had proof, documents, photos, everything. She was planning to expose him before the wedding, but he found out. That's why she ran. Chuka slid a small flash drive across the table. This is what she gave me. She said if anything happened to her, give it to you. Ebuka hesitated, then took it. They opened it on Ngozi's laptop right there in the cafe. Inside were pictures of land documents, money transfers, and government contracts, all linked to Chief Okafor. He had used Adaeze's name to register fake companies that laundered millions of naira. Ngozi gasped. So she wasn't hiding because of love, she was hiding because she was the key to his fraud. Chuka nodded. She didn't even know at first. He used her ID when they were still together. When she found out, she confronted him. That's when he started threatening her. Ebuka's jaw tightened. So she vanished to protect herself. Chuka looked down. And maybe to protect you too. She told me you were innocent. She wanted to fix everything before the wedding, but she ran out of time. Just then, Ngozi noticed two men walking into the cafe, Okafor's bodyguards. Their suits, dark glasses, and calm faces gave them away immediately. Chuka froze. They found me, he whispered. You have to go, now. Ebuka grabbed Ngozi's hand, and they slipped out through the back door, racing into the crowded market. By the time they reached the motor park, they knew they were being followed. A black SUV trailed them slowly from a distance. Ngozi whispered, he won't stop until we're gone. Ebuka's phone rang, it was an unknown number. He answered, and Chief Okafor's deep voice came through. You're a brave man, Ebuka. But bravery without sense is foolishness. Return what doesn't belong to you. Ebuka's voice was steady. You mean the truth? The chief chuckled darkly. The truth doesn't pay bills. Power does. Walk away while you still can. Then the line went dead. They boarded a night bus heading to Oka, hoping to lose the men. As the bus rode into darkness, Ngozi looked at Ebuka and said softly, do you think she's still alive? He stared out the window. If she risked this much to stop him, she won't die easily. He opened his palm, revealing Adaeze's wedding ring he had been carrying since that night. I'm not giving up until I find her. But in the seat behind them, one of the men from the cafe quietly adjusted his cap and made a call. They are on the bus, he said. The bus stopped near Oka just before dawn. The passengers stretched and yawned, but Ebuka and Ngozi didn't move. They waited until the SUV that had been following them drove past, then slipped quietly into a side street. Chuka had sent them a message before his phone went dead, *, meet me at the old printing press outside town. Adaeze will be there. *, Ebuka's heart raced. After all this time, he was finally close. When they reached the abandoned building, it was silent except for the rustle of dry grass. Inside, old printing machines stood covered in dust. A faint light flickered from one corner. Ngozi whispered, someone's here. Then, a voice called softly, Ebuka, it was Adaeze. She stepped out from behind a pillar, tired, thinner, but alive. Ebuka froze, his eyes wide. Adaeze. She nodded weakly. Tears filled his eyes as he ran to her. You're alive, he breathed. She managed a faint smile. I had to disappear, Ebuka. If I stayed, Okafor would have killed us both. She explained how she had faked her disappearance on their wedding night, with Ngozi's old friend's help, after overhearing Okafor's men planning to abduct her. She had been in hiding ever since, gathering evidence with Chuka to expose the chief. Before they could leave, headlights flashed across the wall. A black SUV screeched to a halt outside. Chief Okafor stepped out, flanked by his bodyguards. His voice echoed through the building. "I warned you, Adaeze. You should have stayed quiet." Ibuka moved in front of her instinctively. "You won't touch her," he said. The chief smiled coldly. "You think love will save you? Love doesn't stand against power." But Adaeze's voice was calm and sharp. "Power without truth always falls." She pulled out her phone and pressed play. The recording of Okafor's voice admitting to money laundering, blackmail, and threats filled the room. At that moment, police sirens wailed outside. Chuka had tipped them off before he was caught. The chief's smirk vanished as officers surrounded the building. "You think this ends me?" he barked. Adaeze stepped closer, her voice steady. "No. But it ends your control over me." As the police led Okafor and his men away, he glared at her one last time. "You'll regret this, Adaeze." She met his eyes. "I already did. Once." Weeks later, the story hit national news. Chief Okafor's empire collapsed as his crimes were exposed. Ibuka and Adaeze sat quietly in their new apartment in Saka, the tension of the past month slowly fading. "You should have told me everything," he said softly. Adaeze looked down. "I was ashamed, Ibuka. I didn't want my past to ruin our future." He took her hand. "You're not what happened to you. You're what you chose to do after." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "Do you still want to marry me?" He smiled faintly. "You never stopped being my wife." Ngozi joined them with her usual grin, dropping a newspaper on the table. "Look at this headline, 'The bride who vanished brings a billionaire to his knees.'" They all laughed for the first time in a long while. As the evening breeze blew through the window, Adaeze looked out at the fading sky. For the first time since her wedding night, she felt free from fear, free from secrets, and free to love again. Adaeze didn't vanish to hide, she vanished to survive. And in the end, she found her peace. If this story moved you, tap that, leave a comment, and share it. Don't forget to subscribe for more powerful African stories right here on African Folktales by Irene.